Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Conscious Grief Series 5. And today I am joined by James Granström, who is based out of Marbella in Spain. And James is an exclusive wellness coach. So welcome, James.
Thank you very much, Tara, and thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you here. And we spoke last year. I was on your podcast, and having known a little bit about your journey, I felt that, there's a lot that you can share on this topic of grief and how we can transform pain into evolution and growth. And it was through a very painful circumstance that happened to you when you had a car accident that really changed your life. So maybe you can begin with sharing with the listeners, what happened.
Sure. First and foremost, just want to say thank you for having me, and I'm hoping that our conversation here hopes to uplift and inspire the audience, and hopefully something in my story will be able to help someone maybe think differently, because that's what happened to me. And it's usually in our pain and our suffering that we get awakened. It's kind of like you crack open, and eventually, as Rumi said, the wound is where the light enters. And that was where my wound was. I was making reckless choices. I was only young. I was young and naive. And I had a car crash and I lost control. And I was only 19 and aquaplaned at about 100 odd miles an hour on a main road in Surrey. And I had a friend in the car, and the car rolled. It rolled and rolled and rolled and smashed upside down into a brick wall, where eventually we came to a close, and I ended up outside the car. I don't know how I got outside the car. My friend was still in the car upside down, and no one was hurt. We walked away pretty much unscathed. And within about 10 minutes, the first person at the scene in the middle of the night was a police officer. And he said, "Are the people still in the car?" And we said, "No." I said, "I'm the driver." And it was the first time I'd actually felt like I was taking responsibility for myself. And I'd always shied away from responsibility. But this mess that I'd made, this car crash, this accident, the car was obliterated. And, I said, "Look, I'm the driver." And he looked at me, and he just couldn't compute in his mind. This police officer was like, "You must be a ghost, because there is absolutely no way you should not be dead, And I was thinking to myself, this is the most peculiar part. I thought, am I a ghost? Am I actually dead or not? I mean, I really don't know, because this shock, this feeling inside of the body was really, succinct inside my body. I could feel it, and I was thinking to myself, my golly, I'm so blessed to be here. There is absolutely zero way I should be alive, yet alone my friend. And we did go to hospital. I did have to have a few stitches in my back because there was a bit of glass, but there was nothing on my face. How did I end up outside the car? I don't know. And that evening, I truly, truly believed that a divine force greater than myself had saved me. And I have no logical explanation, even though I grew up going to church. I grew up looking at paintings on the wall in cathedrals of angels, and I'd always looked at them and thought, oh, they give me a sense of peace. I just can't think of any other logical explanation as to why I was still alive, because quite frankly, I could have just been another statistic on the evening news. And so with that, Tara, my mindset changed and said, right, I'm here to do something, and I don't know what it is, but I've been given a chance and I've got to figure out what that is. And so that kind of near-death experience of having perhaps the closest call I could ever imagine kind of woke me up to walking on a spiritual path and thinking, I don't know what my mission is here yet, but I've got to find it out. And I really felt like I was given, like I said, a second chance. So that's how my journey began, through pain and suffering, into awakening into who we really are.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And, you were young to have that sort of realization.
Yeah.
And was it because I know that you decided you met somebody who taught you about meditation. Was that quite soon after
No,
that?
not immediately soon after. It was that, like straight after that, I was going to university, and my mind was wide open. So anything that anyone was saying about life, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna just say no, that's not true. I've started to have like less judgment about things, about certain topics, which was really great because my mind was beginning to open, and I think that was a really healthy thing. But meditation came as a result of me going to university and then starting to drink quite a lot. And as I was drinking a lot and partying a lot and going out a lot, which was a lot of fun, I found that I got really high and then I got really low. And my highs were really high, and I tapped into this kind of amazing frequency. But then my lows were really, really depressive. And it got to a point just before I learned how to meditate or got introduced to meditation, was because I had another near death challenge or experience where I was going out and I fell on my face again. And I just thought, if I do this one more time, I am not going to get another go. I'm not going to get a second chance, because I shouldn't have survived that car crash. And I've been repeating similar behaviors, albeit now with addiction. And I didn't realize I was an alcoholic. I didn't realize I was drinking. It was just my culture. I didn't know any better. I was still young. But I remember calling out for help. I said, look, God, universe, I need help. And I cannot continue on this path anymore. The pain has gotten too much now. I can't live in this, this way any longer. And that week I saw 3 signs for meditation, and I never really was aware of signs before, but my mind was a little bit more open because I was thinking there's got to be another way. And if there is another way, I want to know, otherwise I don't want to be here. Now, I remember saying that. wasn't prepared to take any action on it, but that was how I was thinking. So if anyone's listening and they ever feel like they're super sensitive and they feel like the pressure of the world is getting too heavy on their shoulders, I'm sure we've all felt like that at some point. That's how I was feeling. And I was like, there's got to be another way. And if there is, please show me. And literally within a few days of that, I got 3 signs. I saw something on the TV, I got handed a flyer, and I walked into some sort of crystal or angel shop in Covent Garden, where I was getting these angel messages, because I was just thinking, an angel saved my life. There's no other way, why I should be here. So when someone was showing me an angel card, I was like, show me, I need to know this. But there was a guy behind the counter, and he was watching me try to look at these brainwave CDs to relax and become stress-free. And he said, you don't want to be looking at those CDs. You actually want to learn how to meditate. And I was like, wow, that's the 3rd sign within a week. I've never really noticed signs, but I was like, that's 3 times in a short space of time. And so that's, I went to the address or the teacher that he'd recommended, and I learned how to do transcendental meditation. And that was just a weekend of, 3 evenings over a weekend, a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. And off I went, and my journey into meditation began.
So interesting. And at that time, through the meditation, you decided to give up your old sort of ways and your old life of drinking and partying. Is that right?
Well, I didn't, I wanted to, but I wanted to, Tara, but actually what happened was, and this is the bit that I found really funny, right? Because I need humor in my life. And I think that humor is a really important way that we can get back to truth. And I was a little skeptical about everything that I was experiencing. I was thinking, walked away from a car crash. Are you kidding me? I'm 3 signs in a week for meditation. And there's some guy called Dave, who's my meditation teacher. I thought, okay, this guy, Dave, okay, let's see what Dave has got to say. And I was thinking, come on, he can't be. He doesn't look like some spiritual guru or whatever. And I think that's exactly what I needed. I needed someone who just seemed so ordinary, but yet demonstrated extraordinary presence. And that's what I want to bring to the table. I was thinking, God, if I could tap into that energy, that would be really phenomenal for me, because that's what I need at the moment. I'm a party animal and I want to go out, and then, oh dear, I feel depressed at, even a few days' time. I was like, this is no way of living. And Dave said to me, he goes, do this meditation twice a day, 20 minutes twice a day. You're going to say your mantra, which is private and it's only for you. You won't know what it means because it means nothing, but it will bring you back to the present moment. And I thought, wow, this is a discipline I've never done. Sit still with myself, allow my mind to do what it does, and just say this mantra for 20 minutes in the same place twice a day. I'll give it a go. And he goes, I'll call you back in 2 weeks' time and tell me if there's any changes. He goes, don't expect change, just sit with the practice. And for me, that was like, oh, wow, that's just sounds like hard work getting no results. I don't like that idea. We all want results. If I do this, I'll get X. But he was saying, do it for no results. I was thinking, well, what's the point? But what he was trying to share was that over time, there would be an unfolding. It would be like you'll be cleaning yourself of your energy over time. So you're a lump of coal, and then each meditation is literally cleansing that piece of coal until what's left inside is the diamond, which is yourself. And I thought that was a really beautiful metaphor. And now, I wasn't going to be able to do that in 2 weeks, but he said to me, he goes, you're probably not going to do it, but do it anyway. And that reverse psychology, it really works well on me, by someone saying to you, you're probably not going to do it. So rebellious spirit, warrior spirit that I have was, I'm going to do it. And it was the first discipline I'd ever really had, aside from going to the gym, where I was like, look, this is very different from what I know. And it's better than me going out on a Thursday and coming back on a Sunday night, basically. So I did it. And after 2 weeks, Dave called me back and he said, has there been any changes? I said, no, there's been nothing to report in whatsoever. He goes, anything at all? I was like, okay, no, nothing. I said, there is something strange, but I don't know if this has got any correlation at all. And I said, but I've woke up actually the last 2 days, which was day 13 and 14, and I've had to put my sheets in the washing machine because they've been absolutely drenched in sweat. And he said to me, he goes, wow, your body's really responding to the meditation. I was like, well, what's that got to do with it? He goes, your body is releasing toxicity and toxins at a very rapid rate. So your body's becoming lighter. And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, stick with it. And I stuck with it. And not that my sheets were getting soaked like that every day, because they weren't, but those 2 days were profoundly full of sweat and water coming out of my body. And I found that I was increasingly becoming less and less attracted to going out drinking. So I was trying to find excuses not to go and drink now. And then my diet changed. So within about a period of 4 months, I'd stopped drinking because my body didn't want it anymore. And I changed to a lighter plant-based diet. And I was like, are you kidding me? I didn't even know what a vegetarian was, right? Prior to this. But it was just an unfolding. It was a gentle, gradual unfolding. And I have to say, it saved my life and gave me a new one. So just one simple practice or spiritual practice can make such a beautiful difference in your life. And for me, it just happened to be meditation.
Yeah, and I just really acknowledge that, at a time in your life where, and like you say, part of our culture being British, especially in your 20s, is very much revolving around drinking and partying, and that you found this meditation and that it had such a profound effect and a rapid effect, and something that you stuck to. And like you say, it changed your life. And I think a lot of people who are listening to this, yeah, we hear meditation a lot nowadays, especially, and we know that it has all these positive effects, but it can be very intimidating. And like you say, like sitting with yourself, I mean, 20 minutes is kind of a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe people who are listening to this, who are in grief, who've heard meditation is good for you, what kind of advice would you give them about beginning a practice of meditation?
I think the main thing is just to begin, because the what we don't realize is, we have had our own unique experiences. You listening have had your own unique experiences, and you had your own story. And like that teacher of mine said to me, he goes, "You're that lump of coal, and if you clean it away, there's that diamond. What if you could allow yourself to be that beautiful diamond, and then that light within shine through that diamond?" This is what I came to notice, was that the light within you shines through that diamond, and out comes this beautiful prism, which you are. And you've got this own unique gift to the world, and you need to be able to access that. And meditation is one of the most amazing tools and disciplines and rituals to be able to just sit still, so that that can, beam from you. Einstein said, he goes, "I'd like to know what it feels like to ride on a beam of light." Well, you're already doing it. You are the beam of light, because essentially we're all atomics, and we come from stardust. So we are that beam of light. And, just to sit still with yourself and make that something that you commit to. You don't even know what areas of your brain you'll access. You don't even know yet what hidden gifts that you could access. There's so many beautiful things. You don't know how many wonderful green lights you'll see each day, just because you're able to sit still and practice stillness. I mean, that's the gift it gave me, because before I was erratic, before I was, everything that I'm not now. I'm a lot calmer. My voice has changed. My skin's improved. My vitality and health has been, high level. And I've been doing it for 20 years. And on top of, taking care of food and taking care of my physical form, it's great just to have that emotional balance, which will bring. So just to sit still and just start with 5 minutes a day. Start there. I went 20 minutes because I was a serious case, but I was rebellious as well, right? So I was like, he says, "You're not going to do it." I was like, "Yes, I am." But I wasn't sitting there going, "I'm going to do 20 minutes. I was just going, right, okay, say the mantra over and over again. When the alarm goes off, very gentle, or when the stopwatch goes to 20 minutes, which I'll have a little look. Okay, 20 minutes, I'll stop. Okay, I'm done. And I've been doing this every day, Tara, for 20 years. I'm still in awe of why do I do it? I do it because it gives me green lights. I do it because it sets me up for a good feeling day. I do it because it makes me happier. I do it because it makes me feel calmer. I do it because it keeps my health in check. I do it because it makes me feel an absence of stress. Not that I don't have stress. I'm just saying it's lower than it has been, in previous times. And I do it because I want to know who I am, and I want to bring that to the world and share that with the world in a way that's going to benefit the world. And that's when I found out that just little daily habits like that can really make such a huge, huge impact over time. So if someone's unsure, just begin. Just pick a spot in your house. Go there every day. Start 5 minutes. That's what I said to my clients. Start for 5 minutes, then make it 10 minutes, then make it 15 minutes. If you're doing 15, 20 minutes a day, that's a great way to do it. But start at the beginning of your day when your brain's a lot quieter, and you'll be able to access just a bit more peace there.
Yeah, I think you explain it in such a, this hopeful way for people who might be feeling really hopeless, and the idea of the piece of coal and polishing that and finding this this light and shininess within, because a lot of people are going to be feeling that darkness
Yeah.
and lack of hope and thinking, why am I here? What is the point of life? And also the meditation and is a way of sometimes I think a little bit like prayer as well. And for people to kind of tap into just asking for help, asking for guidance, knowing that we might feel like we're doing everything alone, but we're not.
We feel alone when we feel separated from ourselves, when our thoughts are heavy, when we're looking at our experience and it's got our undivided attention. And when our experience is heavy, when what we're looking at in our life is challenging, sometimes beyond challenging, it can be very difficult to try and sit down and meditate, because that's got your undivided attention and there's a lot of momentum already going. But if you can do it earlier in the day when there's not a lot of momentum going, meaning your thoughts haven't yet really kicked in, it becomes a lot easier to access that unified state, that good feeling state, which is what I did. Because, there was a lot of craziness going on in my world when I started. And I was like, if I do it first thing in the morning, I'm going to have a shower, brush my teeth, do a stretch, I'm doing it. There wasn't much else that I was, I hadn't yet gone, oh, this challenge and this challenge and challenge. I know it was kind of there, but it was still, because my brain waves are much slower first thing in the morning. You're at that theta. And then meditation can get you back into theta again. And if you just hold on to that for like 15, 20 minutes, what happens is your vibration naturally rises. And that's what happened to me. My vibration was very heavy before. And as I practiced and staying with it, doing that thing first thing in the morning and before bed, because I needed a double dose, I felt like it. It just naturally made my vibe, my energy, my well-being just naturally rise, made me feel naturally high again. So the things I was using or addictions to make me high, to try and get out of my lows, my depressive lows, or, those heavy lows, I was using substances, mainly alcohol. I was being able to tap into that natural high substance, which was the chemicals in my body, by quietening my mind. So, if anyone's feeling hopeless, this is perhaps the best tool you can use, because I was hopeless, I was in a really difficult state. And yet I look back on it and go, thank you for that state, because if I didn't have that difficulty, I wouldn't have asked the question, which is, there's got to be another way. There's got to be another way. There's got to be another tool. Now, I didn't even need to go to therapy. I just started little by little with my practice, just sitting quietly and still, polishing that piece of coal every day, which was me. And all those heavy emotions began to just ease away, little by little by little by little. Now, the story of my life remains, but after every challenge comes something beautiful. And I think that the only thing you can ever really look at is your own experience, to go, if I made this slight little change, what beautiful thing could come from it if I were to actually do it? And I needed something, and it was the most unusual thing I'd ever heard. And my teacher said, he goes, I'm going to teach you something you already know, because you kind of do it already without you even realizing. But what if you did it for a bit longer? Because if you ever watch yourself, do you ever catch yourself staring or zoning out? That's exactly what meditation is, right? So we all do it. But to do it consciously kind of stretches that vibe, which means you start to tap into this naturally high energy that you have access to. But it's very difficult to access it and try and do a meditation in the middle of the day or anything like that. So that's why I always recommend in the morning to get going.
And I like that you talk about the vibration, because I can't remember, it was a book I've just recently picked up, but it was saying, grief is at a very low vibration. So, the meditation and the spiritual practice and the commitments that we make in terms of, like you were saying, you were called to be plant-based, long before it became a big fad.
Yeah. I've been doing this for 20 years, right? I've been doing this for 20 years. And I
You
started
eat,
when there was nothing going on, hardly anything. There was only rice milk chipping about. I was like, I don't like rice milk. But, I found you find and gravitate to what's right for you.
yeah, and really just listening, tuning in to the voice within, because we all have the answers within us. And your story is very inspiring, because when I met you and you said you were sober, I assumed that you'd probably be in program of AA or something, and then you just shared now I didn't have any therapy. So it's like they're all different pathways, aren't they, to sort of awakening and conscious living, and um, it doesn't all look the same, and we don't have the same paths. So yeah, it's amazing that your meditation practice, your commitment to that, gave you so much so early on. And something I know that's happened recently has been the passing of your father.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if you'd like to share a little bit about, how that has been for you, and how your spiritual practice assisted you in that.
Sure, of course. So I just wanted to say, like, what I noticed with the meditation before we talk about my father's passing is I just wanted to say it's easier than you think, but turning up is the discipline, right?
Yeah.
So how when people go, oh, James, like giving up alcohol, was that hard? I was like, no, it was easy. Was becoming plant-based hard, or was that easy? I was like, no, it was easy. Because of this little simple practice, right? And it made me chuckle, because I was like, it really was easy, because I just sat down twice a day and my vibration naturally rose.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, that was not happening. And I started to see so many more green lights. Now, with regards to my father's passing, like, I had a feeling that actually, this is the story as it transpired. About 2 days, on about March the 12th or something like that in 2020, my father called me up and had gone into hospital, and he said, oh, could you come and look after your mum, because I've gone into hospital with a lung infection. And this is in Marbella in Spain, because my parents had emigrated there from England. And my father's Swedish and my mother's English. And my mother had had a stroke about 7 years prior to that, so she couldn't drive anymore. So I said to my dad, I was like, yeah, of course. So I dropped all my work. I had lots of bookings, and I cancelled everything and hopped on a flight the next day. And I was just speaking to my sister, and I was speaking to a neighbor in Spain, saying, look, this COVID thing, is this happening? Is this for real? What's actually happening here? And they said, if you're going to come, I suggest you probably get on a flight ASAP, because things could change fairly quickly. And so I hopped on a flight. And then within the next morning, Spain had gone into lockdown. And a week later, England had gone into lockdown. So I knew that my 5-day bag was not going to be a 5-day bag. I was like, okay, I'm really going to be here for a while, but who knows how long it's going to be. So I was blessed to be with my mum and dad. And my dad got out of hospital, by the way, on Monday or Tuesday. So I had to pick him up with masks, and everybody was very concerned. But because I had less fear in my body, because of this meditation, I had way less fear. I was like, I'm okay with whatever's happening. I know I'm going to be all right, because my body is strong and vital and powerful. I just know this from my experience. And so I just wanted to be the example of somebody who knows wellness. So whilst everybody was having fear, I just knew wellness, because that was my experience. So I picked up my dad, and we made a really happy space for us in our villa. And I was really blessed to have the sunshine and the pool and the mountains, because my parents kind of like lived a bit remote, but not too remote. It's only about 15 minutes from the coast. And I was like, man, I could be in London here in lockdown, and I'm in this beautiful environment, and the scenery is stunning. And my dad was finding it very difficult to walk. It was very difficult to do lots of things. But I became the chef. I became the wellness coach, right? And I had already started my podcast. It was already about 6 months going, and I could just tell that although my dad was really wanting to do everything and change his ways, because he drank a lot, he drank whiskey every day, he ate the wrong foods, he was overweight, which is kind of the reason why I am the way I am now, which is, like, I want to take the negatives and turn them into a positive. And I tried to help my dad in his last few months, and I could just tell that the energy or the commitment to want to continue in that physical form was dwindling. The light was kind of like going out. And I'll never forget one day in August, just before I came back to the UK, he looked at me at a dinner, and he looked at me for a photograph, and it was the look where I'll never forget, where he was like, "I'm going, son, I'm going." And I was like, okay, but there was no word said. And I've got that picture on my phone, and it was just that I just knew. And so I go back to England, have 2-3 months in England, do a few contracts with modelling and work. And then my dad goes back into hospital again. And I'm like, okay, I haven't been gone long, and he's gone back into hospital. Okay, right. He was absolutely fine whilst I was here under my care. But if I'm not here, then that's going to be tricky. So yeah, literally about within going into the hospital for the second time, I was like, let me try and hold on to book my flights again, because if he's actually going to come out, I mean, I kind of had that feeling, Tara, but I wasn't 100% sure. A feeling is a feeling, but I had this kind of thought that let me just go with the idea that I'm going to pick him up from hospital. And so I booked a flight, and on that flight, I came out, and I remember looking out the window, and I just moved into a new apartment in London with a friend of mine, and I just had a feeling. I said to him, I don't think I'm going to be in this place really for a long period of time, this apartment. I just don't know. And he goes, why? What's up? And I said, I've got a feeling that my dad's about to check out, is the way I say it. I try to make it in a gentle, funny way. The humor is important for me, right? So I said, I think my dad's checking out. He goes, no. He goes, why? I said, I just got this feeling. And he's like, okay. And this is something that happened with meditation. You start to access areas of energy that weren't present, that have always been present, but you couldn't tap into before. Now, I'm not saying that I wanted it. It's just something that feels very natural to me. So I feel energy, and I feel things with other people, highly empathetic. And I could just feel that my dad's energy was wanting to leave the physical form. And I arrived that day, and he'd transitioned. And there I was, my mum going, what do we do? What do we do? And I was like, right, okay. I said, what do you want to do, Mama? Because do you want to stay here in Spain, or do you want to go back to England? And she goes, I want to go back to England. I said, well, I'll help you. But first we need to take care of the funeral. We need to go to the hospital. We need to go to the funeral parlor. And I didn't speak Spanish, and I just needed to learn everything. So my challenge was the greatest enigma puzzle I'd ever experienced, which was unravel this, James, but you can do it in a way knowing what you know with your centeredness. And so whilst I was taken to extreme levels of needing to be in my center, I still knew that the spirit continues. And I will never forget, like in Spain, you've got 24 hours to be able to do a funeral here, which is just like, what? I've just found out my father's died, and now I've got to arrange a funeral. I was like, wow, this is way too much. In England, you've got a bit more leeway. I don't know about other countries, but in England, you've got lots more time. In Spain, you had 24 hours. Anyway, as it transpired, I managed to have 72 hours, and I managed to get a funeral together and do it just the way my dad wanted it to be done. And that experience, because of meditation, because of my wellness practices, had just made me feel although I was feeling sad of the passing of his physical form, I knew it wasn't the end. And I knew it wasn't the end because 3 weeks later, he turned up in a dream. And if you're open, I'll just share with you this little dream.
Yeah.
And the dream was I was lying on my bed. We'd done the funeral. We were organising the files. My sisters came out. We were making the plans about what to do. And I said I was going to stay and look after Mama. And I'll figure everything out, because I knew nothing, and I just needed, at least I'd had 5 months of something, knowing a little more than perhaps my sisters, and they had kids and families, so that they couldn't do anything. I was just in a good position to be able to help my family. And I was lying on the bed one evening, and I was like that space between being awake and asleep, but I was mainly more asleep, I felt. And I felt my dad like next to me, like lying on my bed. He goes, "Hey, son," and he said, "Do you mind if I lie here with you for a while?" And I was like, "Yeah, are you sure, Papa?" Because I call him Papa because that's what we say in Swedish, right? "Yeah, sure, Papa." It was like, "Just don't snore," because he was a bad snorer, right? He goes, "Yeah, I'll try not to." And I laughed because he said, "I'll try not to." But I could felt this really loving, beautiful presence next to me. And it was as clear as I'm talking to you now. And then suddenly I woke up and he wasn't there. I was like, oh my God, that was as clear as day of you telling me that you're here, albeit not in physical form. But I need to tell you something else that was really magical. The day of that I found out that he died, we needed to get a passport out the safe, and the safe was not working. Like the digits, like, and my mum goes, "Oh yeah, the safe's not working." I'm like, "Oh no, how am I supposed to get his passport so that they can release the body, so that they can take it away?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is a really intense experience," because the people coming to collect my dad's physical form, the body, needed to have the exact match, right? So send us the passport so that they can take the body out. I was like, "But the passport's in the safe and I can't open the safe." And I'm like, "Do I smash the safe?" I was like, "No, of course you don't. That's force. You want to use flow." And I was like, "Oh man." I said, "Look, Papa, angels, God, universe, whoever's listening, help me. What do I do? What do I do?" So I remember going to the loo, and I just got this, and I got this idea. I got this idea that out of nowhere. Tara, still baffles me to this day how this works, how we're connected. When you remain connected, the miracles and magic are literally around. Now, this is from somebody who was not like this, to somebody who's like, wow, this is truth. And I just want to remind people that this stuff happens. And I'm happy to sort of, share this experience because this is what actually happened. I went to the loo and I got an idea to go into an office, into a file I've never been into. I'm not really a visual person. I'm an auditory person, right? Like, and I feel, but I don't necessarily get visions or anything like that. But I got this idea: go to this file in this cabinet and go in there. So I was like, all right. So I went into this file, and lo and behold, I found an override key.
Wow.
And I went in, override key, open the safe. And my mum goes, "How did you do that?" I was like, "I don't know. Did you know where this was?" She goes, "No." I said, "Neither did I. But I just got told where to go." And I'm like, this is, I would formally say unbelievable, but now I'm going to say believable. So now my mind of what's possible goes even further out, right? Now, I'm already an open mind, but there's far more going on here than what you can actually see. There is far more help around you than you can see. There is so much love around you that you may not feel because you're feeling heavy. But if you can lighten the load, by having some spiritual practices where you quiet the mind and take care of your body, take care of your thoughts, maybe do some sort of exercise for sure. I swear by meditation, exercise, and good nutrition, they will really sort you out. And once you get your thoughts in a good trajectory, you're going to be onto the magical miracle vibe. And that's where I tend to live most of the time. I do drop off like every human being, but I just wanted to say that that is some of the things that can happen to you. And that's only a small percentage of what can happen to you when you start tuning into this beautiful, high, natural energy, which you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that experience of death was actually a blessing because it made me go, I feel connected, even though we're not physical in a love relationship with my father. I know that his energy is around, not like stalking me like a ghost, but assisting, inspiring me, because there's no way I would have been able to open that safe. How?
100%.
I
100.
mean, I'm like blown away. And then in the car on the way home, I had like some chill out meditation music because I was like, oh, my energy's like, whoa, I need to steady it. So I put on the chill music. It got interrupted by a Frank Sinatra song, who's my dad's favorite musician, right? And it was come fly with me, let's fly away. And then again, the humor comes out from the spirit side, which was saying, I'm in Lama Land. And it's basically come fly with me. Basically saying, I'm having a great time. I'm flying away. I don't have the heaviness of the physical form. And so when we choose to leave the physical, we do so because the resistance is heavy and we don't know that there's another way out. So sometimes leaving the physical form as a soul is the easiest way, but you don't have to do that. You can learn practices like meditation, like other things that will help you raise your frequency, that doesn't let that heaviness consume you. And it can feel consuming. Grief can feel consuming, but there is other ways where you don't have to allow that. And it just takes a little unraveling and unfolding. And then you tap into the magicals and miracles vibe. And then you'll be thinking, oh, those heavy experiences were such a blessing because now I'm living this. And then you feel like the most blessed person in the world. Now that might seem quite far from where you are right now, but with a little practice every day, magic can happen.
Yeah, it sure can. And I always like to ask people, but I feel like you kind of answered it already, actually. At the end of the interviews, I like to ask people, how would you define conscious grief?
How would I define conscious grief? I think that's a very good question. And I think grief is an emotion that we're going to feel because it's just that feeling of complete separation from something that you love, that you know. But conscious grief is knowing that you feel that feeling and you can allow it. Allow it to be what it is and just use that as a stepping stone to make peace with. Because when grief happens, you just want to make peace with it. I'll allow it. I'll allow you to be here.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
And then when you can allow it to be there eventually and make friends with it, it will pass. Just like the clouds in the sky on a cloudy, dark, grey day. The sun will be there.
Thank you, James. And we're going to have a link underneath this to your free gift. So maybe you'd just like to tell the listeners.
So I'm really excited to share this, actually. I don't know why, but I created this meditation a few years ago. And so that link is to a 12-minute guided meditation that I created with a bit of space in between. And you just got to follow the breathing pattern. And it's a 4x4 breathing pattern. And I created this essentially initially for myself, actually. And I was like, this really works. So I want to share it with you guys. And I hope that it can at least get you going on your meditation practice, because, you know, if meditation has done wonders for me, I wonder what it could do for you.
Amazing. That sounds like a wonderful gift. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share before we finish?
I'd just like to say thank you so much for having me, and it's been, I really appreciate being able to share with you and the audience, and I hope our conversation today uplifts people and gives them hope, and not only gives them hope, helps them maybe make a few inspirational changes, because we want to inspire and uplift, and life's a team game. So I just want to say thank you so much for all the wonderful work you're doing, Tara, and thank you for this opportunity to share. It's been a lot of fun.
It really has. And thank you to everybody who's been watching or listening. We're sending you lots of love, and see you next time. Bye.